Wow, what a segue there, Jake. Yeah, my drinking buddy, the aforementioned Diontae Johnson, is my wide receiver drinking buddy this year. And what's not to love about this? He is currently being drafted as the wide receiver 33 overall, a low end wide receiver 33. And I know this offense isn't very sexy. It's a run first offense. Kenny Pickett only had 7 touchdowns last year, which all this means is that they're due to score more touchdowns. It can't be that bad again. Like historically, teams are not that bad 2 years in a row. It just doesn't happen. So we're going to see touchdowns. And Diontae Johnson, over his career so far, he's had 5, 7, 8 touchdowns and then 0 last year. So he's due for at least 6 or 7 touchdowns at a minimum this year, at a minimum, just to get back to his normal average of touchdowns in the season. I expect Kenny Pickett to take a step forward, another year in the offense, another year in the league, become a little bit more familiar. Hopefully things will slow down for him. I don't believe in George Pickens. I think he's just a big play guy. And Diontae Johnson is the guy. He's the target hog. He's the one that gets open. And he's going to return such tremendous value. He's going to be. It wouldn't shock me to see him finish as like a mid-range wide receiver 2 by the end of the season.
Yeah.
And where you're drafting him, you don't have to. I mean, you're going to get him in like the 5th or 6th round at this point. Like he is going so late. And it's just like stealing candy from a baby, which I don't suggest you do. Please don't steal candy from a baby. That's just rude. But that's what it's going to be like for your league mates. They're going to feel that way and going to want to cry.
They're going to feel like little babies, little wah babies.
That's right. So, I mean, he had over 140 targets last year, 0 touchdowns. That is like the chances of that happening again are just next to nothing. It just fathoms me. I don't know. I can't talk. I don't know what's going on.
It's unfathomable. Even you can't even grasp a fathom.
No. So yes. And Jake, I want to drop a little
sidebar
on here. So speaking of wide receivers that, command a large target share from their offense.
Mm-hmm.
In the last, I'll go back in the last 10 years.
Okay.
Do you want to take a guess at and this is going to be all players in the last 10 years that have had more targets than Diontae Johnson. So very involved in their offense, the wide receiver 1 in their offense. You want to guess what the minimum number of touchdowns the wide receiver 1 on this team has had that gets uber targeted like Diontae Johnson?
So last 10 years,
yep.
Any team in the NFL,
any wide receiver that has had at least 140 targets.
My initial instinct says it's going to be Julio Jones. And again, I'm basically trying to guess how many touchdowns he might have gotten. I'll say 3 touchdowns.
You're close. It is 5 touchdowns. And there's been a lot of players that have had it. That seems like the low end. You got Pierre Garçon, Andre Johnson. Who else is here in that 10 years? Reggie Wayne just on the cusp of it. Calvin Jones just on the cusp of it. So yeah, you've had guys that they've gotten like 5 is like the bare minimum. So the fact that Diontae Johnson had 0,
it's wild.
It's wild.
That is absolutely wild. And again, which is you should never bet against such a crazy ass outlier happening 2 years in a row.
Exactly.
Even if you look at the team and you go, well, I don't believe that the Steelers got much better. Why don't you go cry about it? Because stats say that it's not going to happen this way again for him. Even if he ends up with 3 to 4 touchdowns. If you gave him 4 touchdowns last season, he's right in the mix with like DK Metcalf with his
Exactly.
ADP this year, and nobody's having this conversation. So